was a history and secondary education major with a Black Studies minor. I taught at North Providence High School for student teaching with Lindsay Bedard. Um, the people that graduated with me know she's like my favorite person in the whole world. I taught with her for 3 semesters, 401, and then methods, and then student teaching. And I had a great experience with her. And next year, I hope to work in Boston to teach in an inner city school there. I'm really passionate about really providing students who don't get equal opportunity, like a place where they can grow and develop with teachers that are just going to be supportive and stuff. So I'm very passionate about urban education in general. Currently getting my master's, working on that here at PC in urban teaching.
Yeah, I was a math secondary ed major and I had a computer science minor. I did my student teaching at Cumberland High School with Megan Rowe, and she's awesome. If any of you are there and have run into her, it's not there; it's all virtual. I still text her all the time, like email her. She's been a huge help getting me going this year. She was a huge help in the spring too. Like I don't think I would have survived this fall without her and like my student teaching experience, especially seeing them switch to virtual. We didn't really do student teaching once we went online, but it was so helpful to have. And so having her to lean on even now is huge. Right now I'm teaching in Providence. I'm at Providence Career and Tech Academy downtown. I'm also doing Teach for America, and I decided to go through them for a reason similar to Alana. I was really focused on urban ed and helping students who just need a better leg up in the system. And so my path was to Teach for America, and I'm also working on my applications to hopefully do the urban ed program at Brown.
Hi everyone, I'm Will Glenn, and I also graduated last year. I got to have Comfort like every year and as my advisor, so that was awesome. Comfort, I love your background.
Thank you.
So nice of you to teach in front of Harkins. But yeah, I've had a great experience. I was math in secondary ed when I was an undergrad, and I got hired. I'm working at Keith Tech High School in Framingham, so it's like half an hour from my house, but I teach in my study, which is my classroom right here. But it's been a great experience so far. It was a bummer last spring when we got cut short and sent home, but overall, like my experience in this setting, I think has been like a great learning opportunity.
I'm Laura Chadbourne. I've had classes with a few of you guys, so it's good to see you again. So I did my student teaching at Cumberland High School, which is just about like 20 minutes north of Providence. And the plan post-grad was, I'm Spanish and secondary education, by the way, so Spanish teacher. I don't know if anyone is a language major. Is anyone doing teaching a language? Okay, didn't think so. That's fine. It's typically just me, so I'm used to it. But anyway, so the plan was to go back to live in Spain and teach English as a second language for a year, and then come back here and teach Spanish. But obviously the pandemic kind of, messed up everyone's plans, so that happened to me too. I found out there was a position open for a Spanish teacher at Cumberland where I did my student teaching. So literally the Friday before school started on Monday, I drove down to Rhode Island, did an interview, got the job, kind of switched my whole, path, moved back to Providence. So now I'm teaching at Cumberland, kind of huge schedule change, but that's fine, I'm loving it.
An English and secondary ed major during my undergrad. And I did my student teaching at East Providence High School with Lori Kylie Garcia. I loved it there. It was awesome. And my student teaching there and making a good relationship with the VP actually got me my job, which is an 8th grade English position at a middle school in Woonsocket. Virtual versus hybrid learning versus virtual. We were just on a 2-week quarantine, and now we're back in person again. We'll probably go back virtual again, so that's sort of been how things are right now, but I'm really happy about my career decision. So save things, get a flash drive, and just download everything they give you onto that, because you never know when you're going to need it. Even if like it's not a subject you're teaching after you graduate, just having some sort of models that actual teachers are using can be so helpful. And then advice echoes what Alana said, like, be prepared before you start teaching. I definitely wasn't as good as she was, like, getting a handful of units done, but I had my first unit done when I started my first day, and you want to have, like, at least a week fully ready to go in advance. So on Sunday night, I made sure I had the entire week and the next week ready, so I was always 2 weeks ahead. Especially, like, I think it was Meg said she's been switching virtual and in person a lot and stuff like that.
High school as well. And I remember like we started early in January, so I don't know like what the plan will be this coming spring, but we got I think we returned like 2 weeks early over the winter, and it was worth like every moment that I was on campus extra, even the spring break that we kind of had but not really. Student teaching was so much fun.
And I know everything's super up in the air. This is new for all of us. So I know a lot of teachers that have been teaching for like 30 years at Cumberland are like, this is the toughest year ever for teaching that I've ever had. So it is overwhelming, and you guys are definitely going to get a very interesting student teaching experience.
Something that's really big for me is forming relationships with school staff and with students. So like I said, the reason that I got hired at my job was because after I interviewed, the principal at Woonsocket called the VP at East Providence and asked about me. And he and I were super tight because I always made it a point to talk to him. And he recommended me for the job. And the principal literally told me that that was why she hired me. So making those relationships is super important, even if it's really intimidating to talk to someone in focused on forming relationships with the kids. So when they came into the classroom or like as they log on to your Google Meets, make as much small talk as you possibly can, ask about their weekend plans. The next week when they come in, ask them how those weekend plans were, show that you actually paid attention and listened. They're a heck of a lot more likely to listen to you or to be quiet if you give them that teacher look and things like that, because they'll like you and they'll respect you a little more, and they'll see that you aren't just there to boss them around. You actually care about them. So that's really big, and that's still been big for me now. I actually did research with Comfort on relationships. So it is really, really important. So I would say when they first come in, I always ask them, how was your weekend? How is your day going? Put it in the chat so I can take attendance, so that they are forced to actually participate, give me an answer. I can then comment on their answers and make small talk as I check off attendance. To be honest, I don't actually take attendance based off of their answers, but they don't know that, so that's what I go with. Another thing is sometimes if I have a student who I know is struggling in particular, I will let the class leave my meet a minute or two early and ask that student to hang behind with me, because sometimes you do need that one-on-one time with them, and sometimes that student won't show up to an outside meeting that you schedule, or you can't get that time with them anywhere else. So for me, it's worth letting everyone else go a minute or two early so I can just chat with them for a little bit.
So I'm teaching mostly in person. I mean, right now I'm in isolation for the second time of the school year, so I'm teaching online, but my school has been fully in person for the full year. And so I didn't have as much chance with online stuff, but what I'm doing now that I'm at home and my kids are on Zoom with me, I do these things kind of like what Meg was saying, like check in with them. They're called mood meters, whereas they come into the Zoom, I have a picture on the screen that has like, I'll pick one celebrity and get a picture of them in making 9 different expressions, and they can kind of comment, oh, I feel like this face today and I feel like this. It's a quick way to check in with them, and then like, you can have them talk about it and they can like debate what the person's feeling. Just giving the kids a chance to talk together and then you being a part of those conversations has been helpful. Another big thing is, especially in a pandemic year, your lesson is never more important than what the kids need. So like if a kid starts to tell a story, even if you should have started class, listen to that story first, talk to the kid for a second, like you can give them an extra 2 minutes before your lesson starts. Like you'll still get it in on time. Like show that you're willing to listen to them and make time for them, or at the end of class, like ask them those questions. During the lesson, check in with them, like give them the time and show that what they have to say is really valuable, because they'll like really respect you for that and you'll get a lot out of that. And then the other thing that I do, because I teach math and you really need people to see their work, so teaching virtually is really, really hard for us. When I'm in a Zoom, I do individual breakout rooms. So So every kid goes into a different breakout room, and I jump one-on-one into each room, so that I can actually have the kids share their screen and talk to me without being embarrassed in front of the class. And I can also get some private time with each kid. The only issue is some kids are going to dip out of your meeting early, so I take attendance at the end of class, and they know they have to be there the entire period to get their attendance credit. But they really like that chance to like ask me questions without the entire class hearing. Because on Zoom, everybody hears everything you say, and so like that was really beneficial for them to start.
So I right now don't have the ability to put my students into breakout rooms, but I also know that they hate talking in front of each other when they're having trouble. So another thing, if you can't do breakout rooms, I always tell them, like, if you're confused and don't want to ask something out loud, email me right now. Update the online whiteboard and project it. So that's a good way to get students to sort of collaborate together and do something interactive without physically being near each other.
Look up like what's the best way to like get your students interacting online, because for the first 4 weeks it was completely online. So try to like get comfortable, get familiar with using as many online tools and like things like Pear Deck, Jamboard as possible, so that you can just like throw it into every lesson and kind of make sure that all the students are. So Padlet, I don't know if you've heard of Padlet.
Yeah, I use that all the time.
Yeah, so I just did like a lesson on Frida Kahlo, the painter, and I had like at the end all the students do like their own self-portrait, you know, like selfie. I kind of tied it into selfies and self-portrait.
Yeah, it's so awkward when I'm like bouncing around breakout rooms and I see like camera off, muted. It's like, but it's frustrating because we can grade them based on their cameras being on or not. But like I'll have some kids that are like they're doing the work, they're giving me something, but their camera's off, and I don't want to like really penalize them just because a lot of them are like they're freshmen. They're in a school that is like they're because of the way that we're pooling from middle schools. They're in a class where they haven't like they don't know anyone, and it's such a tough setting to really be brave and like go out of your comfort zone like that. So I'm like trying to be as lenient as possible.
But there's two teachers, Jay Ryan. They just had a baby, and now I'm Facebook friends with them. And I know that if I ever was like, wow, I really can't get a job, like I wonder if I could reach out to these people, like they're resources to have. That's again how Meg got her job. So definitely do what you can to get to know the people, like the people that work there.